everyone, and welcome to another speed build. Today I'm making a little Cape Cod house for a couple of grandparents. I was just really in the mood to make something that was cute and cluttered and a little dated, and this was just the perfect thing to build to scratch that itch. So I am making pretty much your typical Cape Cod house. Like, I made a house back when the game first released that had essentially the same shape as this one, but again, I'm just making this one like that because it's just the typical shape that Cape Cod houses come in. Like, it's the most common one that I've seen where I live. So that's really what I wanted to recreate with this. Although it does have a bit of a different shape than that first one that I made. Like, the interior is laid out a little different, so I think it's fine. I also added a basement to this one. So even though it's a fairly small house on the outside, it actually does have a good bit of space within it. And it does have 3 bedrooms, although one of them was furnished as a study. But if you download this house and you want to use it for a family where you need 3 bedrooms, you can just change that study to become a bedroom. So there is a space for that if you want it. There's also a lot of space in the basement to just hang out in, so there's a bunch of stuff down there. I also added a garage here. So I just had a lot of fun with using the terrain tools in this build because I've been forgetting about them recently. Like, it's been a little while since I made a build where I used them. So I just really wanted to go in and use them with this build. So I used it more so to create more of a gradual slope, and I really love how it looks. And I made it so the garage is a little lower down the hill. So I just really liked how that came out, and I was just so happy that with the terrain tools patch, they made it so you could have different foundation heights with different structures. Because it is just great to be able to have separate garages that are actually on the ground and not up on a foundation where you're trying to figure out how to not make it look strange. Although the terrain tools did make it a little tricky to put fences in. I think it was more so the basement that did that though, because due to the fact that I had a basement, I wasn't able to make a fence connect to the house from the ground. Like, usually you can do that. Like, it's kind of tricky to explain, but usually if you start a fence not from the house, but like you start it from a few tiles away and then you drag it like towards the house, you could connect it to the house without it being foundation height. But because of the basement being added in, I wasn't able to do that. Hopefully that makes sense. Like, that's just one of those quirks. Like, having the basement with the terrain tools made things a little tricky because it kind of limited how much I could raise the ground up around the house, because when you add the basement in, you don't have as much ability to like raise the terrain. Like, you can only raise it up to the original height of the ground that you built the house on. So for example, with this house, I raised the ground up a little bit and then I built the house on top of that, and then from there I pulled the foundation up some and put the basement in. So because I had the basement in, I'm not able to raise the ground up any further around the house than the height it was originally at, which is a little annoying because usually if you don't have a basement, you can raise the ground up as much as you want. Like, you can raise it up so that it looks like it's level with the house, there's no foundation, but for some reason, putting the basement in messes with that. I don't know why that is. It's a little annoying, because I know in the past I was making this one house, and then I did some, like, I did some terrain manipulation around it. Like, I made it look like there's a little bit of gradual slope around the house, and then I put a basement in, and it flattened out all of the terrain manipulation I did. So I don't know if that's something they could change or not, but it is a little bit annoying, and I really don't know why it has to be like that, because the basement's just kind of in its own level on the ground, so I don't really see why the terrain manipulation has to affect that much. I mean, I guess maybe it's because when you raise the foundation up, it makes it so the staircase going to the basement has to be taller and it takes up more space, so maybe that would mess with that some. I don't know why exactly, but that does bug me a little bit, and it makes it a little bit harder to use the terrain tools and put basements in houses. So that's why I haven't really done a basement in a while, because or no, at least not with houses where I've done a little bit of terrain manipulation, because it makes it a little bit harder to do that. But anyway, right now I am finishing up the color scheme of the house. So with this house, we've got brick on the lower level and then white siding on the upper level. And that's a thing that I've seen a lot in my area with older homes, where they'll have old brick on their lower level, and then on the top level there will be white siding. And I thought that looked kind of cool. Like, it's very simple, but I thought it looked kind of cool. So I really wanted to do that with this house, and then I thought it would help to add a little bit more color to the house by making it so the shutters and the windows have some blue in them. And then we've also got blue accents with the stairs and then the railings, and I also put some blue columns around the house, which I really like. I haven't really quite done that before, so I just think the blue accents all over this house look really nice. And I also continue that into the interior a little bit, so in the interior you will see blue accents here and there, which I was very happy about because blue is my favorite color, so I was all for putting blue throughout this house. But even though this house is made with grandparents in mind, you could definitely use this as a family house, because I did add a kid's bedroom upstairs, because I was imagining them as grandparents who like to have their grandkids visit frequently, so they have a bedroom there for them to stay in when they visit. And then in the basement, there is a kids play area in the corner, and then there's also some other kids stuff on the outside, like I added that the toddler slide into the backyard, just to, kind of be like they have it there for the grandkids to play on when they visit. I just thought that was really a cute touch, because I know when I was younger, like, I would visit my grandparents fairly frequently, and they had a whole bunch of toys there for us. They had like a bedroom we could stay in when we were visiting. So I was just kind of pulling inspiration from that for this house, because I remember they always had like some really cool toys that we didn't have, so I always look forward to going there to play with the stuff that they had. And then on the driveway here, we just have this pickup truck, which, by the way, is a sized up toy. Like, I get questions about that on occasion where people are like, how did you get cars? Because we do not have cars. But yeah, for anyone wondering, that is just a kid's toy I took and sized up, which unfortunately doesn't look perfect. Like, it does look a little bit pixelated and blocky. So that's one of the reasons why I'm hoping we could get cars in the future. Although, honestly, like, I would be fine with just decorative cars and not having to size up kids' toys. Like, I just more so want decorative cars. Like, I want that more than cars that they could actually drive, which, although that would be really cool, but it's just mainly for decorative purposes that I want cars. Although they did unlock those trailers from Strangerville with the most recent patch, and I was going to use one of those trailers. Like, I was going to stick it in the driveway here, because I was kind of seeing them as a retired couple who likes to travel. So I thought having a trailer in the driveway would work well for that. But this isn't a very big house. It's on a small lot. So when I stuck the trailer in, it looked kind of weird because it was so big and it looked like it was almost the height of the garage, and then it kind of blocked the garage. So I feel like that was a teensy bit unrealistic, although that doesn't even matter. But still, it just looked really off when I stuck it on the lot. So I took it out. But I definitely would like to do a build in the future where I just have a trailer sitting in the driveway. Although I think I would need to do a bigger build for that to really work, like something where I have kind of like a paved spot off to the side where the trailer is parked. I just don't think it makes a lot of sense to block the whole garage with this big trailer that's taking up most of the driveway. And right now I am trying to figure out the placement of things in the backyard, because unfortunately using the terrain tools does make it a bit trickier to place things, because you obviously can't place objects on slopes. So what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to flatten out a space just for this clothes drying line, and then at the same time I'm trying to smooth it out enough that it doesn't look too out of place, because it looked kind of weird if you just have this flat spot in the middle of a slope. So I was trying my best to smooth it out in a way that I could still have that flat area for the clothes drying line, but it didn't seem too out of place. Like it looked natural with the landscape. And then I also stuck that toddler slide back here, and that's about it. I kept the backyard pretty simple because, again, there wasn't a whole lot of space for me to put stuff in, and I just really like that look as well. Like, it's kind of like they got a lot of space for their grandkids to just run around and have fun. And I mean, a lot of the times anyway in yards you have open space, like you don't just have landscaping and stuff everywhere. So I just wanted to do that with this yard. And apart from that, back here we do have that deck area, which I end up sticking a grill and some seating on. And then there is also that really nice screened in room, which I just thought was really cozy. I did something kind of similar to that with that pink trailer home I built like a month ago. Like, I had a screened in porch using those windows, and they just work so well for this. Like, they go really well with the style of the house, and they definitely, like, they look like they could just be screened in windows. So yeah, I really like how that whole area looks. And I of course kept the brick that was on the outside of the house on that wall. Like, that's the back of the house, just so it kind of looks like something they just added on, like they're of course not going to go in and take the brick off and put different kinds of wallpaper in. Like, that would just look really weird. But I do like the look of that in general. And we are nearing the end of the outside of the house, so I'm just figuring out the lighting just to make sure everything's well lit on the outside. And then sticking some things here as you walk in the door. So we just got that cute little bunny. I really like sticking that on porches as just kind of like a nice lawn decoration almost. And I think I did already, but I did add in those lawn decorations that came with backyard stuff that I always forget about. There was that butterfly, and then there's also that flower that spins. Like, I never use those, but I felt like they just really fit this house so well. And something else I was thinking could be kind of cool to add in is just like a random lawn decoration or like outside the house decoration is a flag. I know we have those flags from Get Together, but they're more like pub flags, you know, like that flag that extends out horizontally and the flag just kind of hangs down vertically. Hopefully you know which one I'm talking about. But I feel like it'd be kind of cool to have like those flags that people put on the outside of their house. You know, like my mom does this, where she has this, I don't know if she still does it or not, but she used to have this like flag and she would change it for the holidays. Like she had a Christmas flag and she had a Valentine's Day flag and stuff like that. You know, just like those little flags that people stick on their houses and they change for the different seasons. Like maybe we did get something like that with seasons, but I'm forgetting. But that would have been a cool thing to get with seasons, or just like a cool thing to get in the future in general. Like that was just a random thing I thought about. But anyway, we're on to the interior now. So I was just finishing up putting the wallpaper and flooring for most of the first level of the house. So I was trying to use some wallpapers I don't really use much. Like, I don't think I've ever really used these before. Like, I used that plaid wallpaper in the dining room, which just feels like something you would see in a grandparent's house. And then I've also got this one here with the paneling, and there's a very faint pattern on it, like a very faint flower pattern on it. Like, I really can't remember the last time I used this wallpaper, but it just works so well for this house, and I really like the light color scheme that this house has. It looks very cozy. And then for the living room, it's got a different layout than I would normally do, because my original idea was to stick the couch facing the fireplace, but that wouldn't have worked very well because if I centered it in the room, then half the back of the couch would be hanging out past the stairs, and that would just look kind of weird to have a couch that was half in front of a wall and half kind of floating in the room. So then, like, I did scrapple this, but then I also tried to stick in the couch in the middle of the room facing the fireplace, but then it was too cluttered in. So I thought this worked very well, like just having the couch and the two chairs facing each other. And I didn't end up putting a TV in here because it really didn't fit in with how I arranged everything, but I thought that worked. You know, like they wanted this to be more of just a formal sitting area where you can just kind of like sit here and chill out and talk to people. And they do have a TV in this house. The TV is in the basement, so the basement is like their TV area, and then they do have a pretty nice flat screen TV down there, so they're not like, I was imagining them as grandparents who aren't super behind on technology, you know, like they know how to use computers, they appreciate buying like nice TVs, but you know, they just didn't want that in their actual living room. And then I also stuck a video game system downstairs too for the grandkids, but I'll talk more about that once I get down there. I did really like how the basement turned out though. But we are onto the kitchen, so I've of course got these more dated counters that I really love using in these kinds of builds. And this kitchen layout was a teensy bit tricky, because I was just trying to figure out, like, I didn't want to stick I like having sinks under the window, but then again, like, I use that too tall and wide window, so the sink wasn't centered under it, which bugged me more in the past, but I don't know, that doesn't really bug me as much anymore if the sink's uncentered. Like, I remember in the past I used to try to do stuff like when I placed sinks under those too tall windows where I would center the counter and then overlap counters, and I just stopped doing that because it can cause glitches when you're using the kitchen. So now I just kind of deal with the fact that the sink is off center, which I think is fine. Like, it doesn't look too bad off center like that. I mean, it is a bit annoying how it's half under that cabinet, but it's functional, so I think it's fine. You know, like, I was trying to make sure everything worked in this house. And I did also play test like seeing how well Sims get through the living room, because I was a bit worried due to how much I crammed everything in that Sims wouldn't be able to walk through the living room, but they can. They can get through the whole house. I didn't test that toddler slide in the backyard because I wasn't sure how well that would work due to how close it is to the fence. Hopefully it'll work. Yeah, that was just another thing that I forgot to play test. And then over here on this side, we just have a pet food bowl and a trash can. So I did stick some pet stuff throughout this house. I didn't add everything you needed. Like, I meant to add a litter box in the basement, but I completely forgot. So if you do want to have a family who lives here that has pets, then that is something you're going to need to add in. And then if you're a family without pets, then there's not too many pet stuff in this house, so it's pretty easy to just go and delete it, and you won't end up with a ton of empty spaces where the deleted stuff was. But now we're onto the dining room, and I just really like how this room turned out. I really like the color scheme, like just with the blues, and I have these lighter woods in here. Like, it just looks very, very cozy, and I really like this plaid wallpaper. I'm definitely gonna have to use this more often, because yeah, I just kind of forgot that existed. But I was just really trying to make an effort with this build to find some things I don't use a lot, although I did use some things that I use pretty frequently. And then we also got a yellow plant on the table here, and I just really like the combination of light blue and sunny yellow, and those are actually my wedding colors, because I am getting married later this year. So, as I'm sure is a surprise to no one, like if you've been watching my videos for a while, the main color is light blue, and then we're just gonna pop some yellow throughout the centerpieces and everything. So glad that's something I finally got figured out. But yeah, I just really, really love that combination of colors. So you will see that in a few different places throughout this house. And then here I'm just trying to figure out these decorations for this cabinet here. So we just got that. Oh no, I don't think I kept the rabbit. Yeah, I think I stuck like one of these cat things in here instead, but it just looks really cute. And then over here I ended up sticking like one of those rooster decorations in, and yeah, I just like that hen decoration, and that was about it. And then as you saw there, I was using that red shelf to help with decorating. And it's been a while since I talked about what that shelf is, so if you don't know what it is, it's basically just a custom content shelf that you can use to more easily, like here I am using it again, so you can just use it to more easily place items on shelves, because otherwise what you have to do is use the 9 key to move stuff up, or you have to move, like put on a surface and then scoot the surface away and then move it back over, which I still do some of that, but it just makes it easier. So instead of like using the 9 key to raise items up, and to use the 9 key to raise items up, you do have to put in the move objects sheet, which is bb.moveobjects. So basically, instead of having to do all of that, you just stick the shelf at the height you want, snap objects to it, and then move them over. And you can use Alt to put at whatever height you want along the wall. So it just makes it a lot easier to prevent objects from floating, because when you do use the 9 key, there's only certain heights you can raise objects to. And sometimes you'll try to put an object on a surface that the 9 key won't allow you to raise it to the height of, you know, like you'll have a shelf and you might place it so that when you use a 9 key to raise an object, it's either floating above the shelf slightly or it's in it. So this just makes it so you can more finely place things so they don't look like they're floating above the shelf. So it just really helps a lot with that, and I will have a link to it in the description if you want to check it out. And that link is always, like, ever since I started using it, I've had it in the description of every speed build. So yeah, you can just check that out if you're interested in having that. And you do still need to use the move objects sheet when using it. Like, it won't really, like, I don't think you'll be able to have objects float as you pull them away if you don't have the move objects sheet on. But again, it just makes it so much easier to place objects at exact heights. But we're on to the screen and porch right now. There's not really a whole lot out here. We've just got a really nice little outdoor dining area. We've got that shelf with some plants on it. And then I also stuck a flower arranging table out here because I imagine them as being a couple who's maybe a little bit into gardening. You know, they like making flower arrangements because they are retired. They got a good bit of free time. So that's just one of those things that they do to occupy some of that time. But we're done with the first level, so now we're moving on to the upper level. So up here is where you do have the main bathroom, and then you've also got the larger bedroom that is the grandparents' bedroom, and then, as I said before, you do have the smaller bedroom that is for the kids. And then I also decided to use carpet in the bedrooms because typically I just used hardwood throughout the whole house, but I wanted to break myself of that habit a little bit in this house and do something a bit differently, so we have carpet in these bedrooms. I also stuck carpet in the study downstairs, which, as I said before, is what I was imagining to be a third bedroom. So that just has carpet as well. I don't really like the look of carpet as much as hardwood. I just find the wood floors, just find that they look better. But as I said, I just want to do something a little different with this house. And I still think it turned out fine. But up here, there's not really a hole on this landing area. We just got this hutch here that has some towels in it. I always forget about this item. but it really is so perfect for areas like this, like areas in the hallway near the bathroom. So I definitely need to make use of this more. And I think there was another cabinet that came with cats and dogs that was a little bit taller, and I believe that had towels in it as well. So those are both just really good items for these areas. But of course I just used a shorter one in here because the taller one would have just completely blocked that window, and I really didn't want to block that. So on top of it, we just got a plant, a lamp, and that rooster decoration. I was just trying to shuffle things around a little bit there, and then I remember to add in this pet toy object, which I was trying to find a place for downstairs, but things were pretty cluttered downstairs, so I couldn't really find a good spot for them. And then now we're on to the bathroom. There isn't really anything too spectacular about this one. I mean, we just got this shower tub combo in here. It's got a very nice lighter color scheme with this peachy color on the walls, and then the white paneling on it and the white tiles. I do really like how this looks. And I was imagining this as the house that the grandparents had owned since, like, you know, like I imagine that they bought this as their first house and they raised their whole family in it, so they've been living here for years. And the bedroom that is the kids' bedroom when they visit was their children's bedroom when they live there. You know, now the grandparents' children are bringing their kids here, and their kids are staying in the room that their parents grew up in. I don't know, I just thought there was something really sweet about that idea. But we are just finishing up the bathroom here, just sticking that mat here in front of the shower. So now we're on to the parents' bedroom, or the grandparents' bedroom, which is just really cozy. And I of course use this bed that came with cats and dogs. Like, this is just the perfect grandparents' bed. Like, whenever I look at this bed, I just think grandparents, especially since you got the swatches of it that have the quilts on it. So it just really fit this house so perfectly, and I do really like the quilted patterns that it has. So I'm just trying to add some clutter to the nightstands here just to make it look a little bit lived in. You know, we got a cup of water there, which in hindsight I maybe shouldn't have put there, because when I was trying to get the video clips for the end of the video, I realized that it already started stinking up. But I just kind of like the idea that they came up there with a glass of water, they're drinking it as they're going to bed, or, you know, like they were drinking it while they were reading in bed, and then just stuck it there when they were done with it. And then we also got a tablet as well, because as I said before, I don't really see them as being, you know, adverse to technology. You know, like they do like technology, so I just like the idea of having that tablet next to their nightstand for them just look at. You know, maybe they read some books on it and that kind of a thing, and then, you know, like that's what they're reading from in addition to regular books at night. So I don't know, I just thought that looked really sweet. And then over here we just got a mirror and a plant, of course, nothing too exciting. And then I stuck a bookshelf here because I just didn't know what else to put there, and I just kind of saw them as a couple that really love to read, so that's why there are quite a few bookshelves throughout this house. And then here I just wanted to change out this rooster wall decoration for those feather ones, because I remember those were in the Buy Debug catalog, and I had used that rooster painting a few places throughout the house, because there's only so many. Like, I was really trying to go for more dated wall decorations with this house, and there's only so many of those, so I found myself kind of repeating a few. Like, that's always a thing when I build a house. Like, it's so nice at first where I'm like, oh, I haven't used this painting yet, so I can stick it here, and then I go to furnish the later rooms in this house, and then I realize that there's no paintings I haven't used that fit it, so then I end up having to reuse paintings. So yeah, I just remembered that one in the Buy Debug catalog and stuck that in, so we had something a little different there. But now we're on to the kids' bedroom. So with this one, I was trying to not make it too cluttered because this isn't where they actually live. So I felt like you wouldn't really have a ton of stuff all over the place, but I was trying to add a few toys in here for them. And then since this room is fairly small and there's not a lot of space for toys, they do have that play area that's in the basement as well. And I really love this swatch of this bed. Like, I forgot that this existed. Like, I just love how it's got the cats and dogs on it. Like, it's really adorable. I feel like it really fits this build so well. But now we're onto the basement, which is definitely one of my favorite parts of the house. So again, I was trying to go with this very dated look down here. Like, this hasn't been updated since the 60s. So we just got that paneling on the walls. And then I also added this really dated linoleum tile in here, which I really like the look of. Like, when I've done bases like this in the past, I always end up using carpet, but this time I really wanted to use this old tile that looks like it maybe could have been from the 60s. Like, I thought that just fit so well. Like, it's the kind of tile you look at and you think might have asbestos, So I just thought that worked really well for the basement of this older house. So back here we just got this bar area. I was trying to give it sort of a retro look with these counters, and I thought those definitely fit the part for that. So this is a pretty cool area, and then we just got some olives, so I don't know, they can use those to make cocktails. And then I also added these items from Get Together, which are supposed to be the club logos, but since it was the bear, I imagine it's like a logo for a sports team that they're really into rooting for. You know, like they got a couple of different pendants with that sports team's logo. Like I could definitely see a bear being a team's logo, so that just works so well. And then here I'm just trying to figure out the couches that we're going to use. So I used this leather sofa that came with the base game, which works pretty well. And the space is a little cramped. So this was another space I tested to make sure Sims could get through it, and they can get through it perfectly fine, because I was kind of worried they couldn't get through here to get to the bathroom, but no worries, they can. So down here we do of course have this open area with the bar and the TV area, and then off on the other side of the staircase is the kids area. There's also a laundry area down here. And then there is a second bathroom, so this isn't a one bathroom house. So that does make things a little easier if you have a bunch of Sims, so they're not all stuck using one bathroom. And then I also used this rug from Cats and Dogs, which I thought worked perfectly. And that actually reminds me of rugs my grandparents had in their basement. Like they had a rug pretty much like that in their basement on tiles, so that's why I did that. And I just really love how it looks so much. And then here I'm just adding some stuff on top of this cabinet. We got the video game system there for the kids. Although, you know, maybe the grandparents use it. You know, they could be into playing video games too, but I was kind of imagining it something that was more so there for the grandkids when they come over. Because I just remember that when I was younger, like my grandfather, like I think I've talked about this before, but my grandfather is actually really into video games. Like he would always buy like the newest video game systems. So he always had more video game systems than I did at my house. So I was always excited to go to my grandparents to play their different video game systems. Like they had a Nintendo 64 and we never had one of those. They had a PlayStation, they had a Wii before. No, we never even got a Wii. Like they had a Wii. They had pretty much like my grandfather would just like buy new video game systems whenever they came out, which was like super cool. So, you know, they could be cool grandparents who are into playing video games as well. And we're onto the laundry room now, which is very dark and dingy. So I just stuck that paneling on the walls that aren't the exterior walls, and then on the exterior walls I stuck the cinder block. So I was imagining that was just the cinder block foundation. So I think houses like this would have a cinder block foundation like this. Like when I was in college, I lived in a basement apartment in a Cape Cod, and I remember like the unfinished part of it had those cinder block walls. Like that's what the foundation was made of. So I just kind of solved that as being the same case, because that Cape Cod was built in like the 40s. So I was imagining that it was the same deal for this one. Like this is a house that is of course fairly old, so that's why quite a few things within it are fairly dated. I also added some cracks to the foundation walls a little later on to go with that. And here I'm just decorating these shelves because I just really wanted to have a bunch of like cluttered storage shelves down here. I did cut part of it out though because it's kind of tedious when I do this. But I also stuck that shelf with that came with Strangerville that had a bunch of those items on it. Like it definitely worked really well with those other shelves that I added in here. But now we're on to the bathroom. This is definitely a dingy bathroom. The upstairs one is far nicer, but we just got the cinder block all in here. And then that kind of a gross, not really grossing, but just that basic like exposed piping sink that came with Parenthood. We've got a crappier toilet, got the same shower tub combo, so definitely not the nicest bathroom. But I just gotta imagine this, like if you had a family here with teens, like I'd imagine that this would be the bathroom that the teen would want to use, because they just want their own bathroom. Like they don't care if it's worse than the other bathroom. But last but not least, or maybe actually least, because garages are my least favorite thing to furnish, we are furnishing the garage. Because, I don't know, I like having garages in homes, but I never really know what to do with them. They're kind of hard to make practical. So, yeah, I just furnished that last because I don't know, just kind of wanted to put it off towards the end. But I was trying to add some yard stuff in here. Like, I just got that rake and shovel out of the By Default catalog and stuck that on the floor there. Like, they just toss on the floor and they're done with it. And I also added those bags of cat food in there because I know they're supposed to be cat food, but I was imagining that they were bags of fertilizer for the yard. And then I also added that leaf blower. So I was pretty happy when I found that. And then apart from that, to make this space functional, I did add some workout equipment. I also added the workbench. So this space is at least useful for something. But we are at the end of the building part of the video, so as usual, if you want to download this, there will be a link to do so in the description. There will also be other stuff in there on how to find in-game. But that's going to be all from me, so if you enjoy the rest of the video.